What's going on, guys? My name is Arrow, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay, so let's talk about what this build is and what this build is not. We'll start with what it's not. It is not a juiced map farmer. I set out to make a build that could make a lot of currency, that didn't need to go magic find and fully juice the league mechanic. I wanted to provide players an alternative to full wisp juicing because it can be very punishing. It's very expensive to get into at the high end, and there are lots of different ways to make money this league that isn't just high-end magic find. One of those ways is boss rushing. I have a video from last league, I will link that in the description below, that explains how to make a lot of money by boss rushing and doing Harbinger. Now, this video isn't about that, but basically the goal is sprint to the boss, kill the 3 bosses in City Square, kill the 1 Harbinger, and leave. That was incredibly profitable last league and made me somewhere between 12 and 15 divines in pure profit per hour over several thousand maps. I've done a couple hundred this league, and it is even more profitable. Harbinger Sextants are less than half the price they were last league, and the rewards from this strategy are significantly more valuable than they were at this time last league. Fracture orbs are going for 16 divine orbs. Invitations are anywhere from 150C to a divine. Exarch invitations in bulk are selling for 1.8 or more divines. My guess is I'm making somewhere around 20 divines per hour, but it's probably actually a little bit more than that. I'm making around 7.5 divines per hour just from the invitations. It's probably another 6 to 8 just from fracture shards, and then all of the other stuff that comes along with it. It's absolutely ludicrous money, and we're having a blast. So I made a build that was designed to do this exact strategy. If you want a boss rush, it's hard to go faster than this build. It's pretty complex, and it's not really tuned to do anything but boss rush, but I figured I would put this out there as an alternative to what we saw last league, where Crouching Tuna and Captain Garbage put together a very, very speedy tornado shot build that required a lot of tuning and a mage blood. This isn't quite as fast as that build, but it's about as fast as I can control, and I often lose control of it even at this speed. So I don't think more speed is really necessary. But the clear is fantastic. I can clear an entire city square in about 30 seconds. I've been making a ton of money with this build. So what I want to do today is I want to showcase the build of what it's capable of, and then maybe what you can do with it instead of what I'm doing to try to make it more your style. The core of the build is Frostblink of Wintry Blast. This gem has no cooldown, unlike its original counterpart, which makes it triggerable in the Asenath's helmet. In order to trigger this, I decided to use Frenzy, as Frenzy has a ton of attack speed, so it was going to be trivial to get really high attack speed. And then I decided to make a cast on crit setup, because with a tincture, you have access to hits that cannot be evaded while you are on low life. We are low life in order to use pain attunement, and therefore we have 100% accuracy at all times. This is incredibly valuable. It's just one of my tincture mods. So then all I have to worry about is crit. Crit is fairly accessible. We don't get to crit cap on this build, and we don't even actually get to crit cap on single target on this build, but with return projectiles and how often we're hitting, you don't really need to. So the core of our damage comes from Frostblink of Wintry Blast, at least on single target, by name locking the boss, where you basically right click the boss and hold down, and you will cast back and forth through the boss. This happens because we are triggering Frostblink with Frenzy as basically as fast as we can. And Frenzy is also hitting the boss and casting Ice Spear on crit. A massive amount of damage comes from Frostblink's quality and built-in effect of deal 25% more damage with hits per 5% chill effect on the enemy. Now there's 10% built in naturally, there's 4% more on the quality, and then we get another 6% from using Ashes of the Stars, which is incredibly cheap this league. Ashes is not mandatory in this build, it just helps us get a little bit more damage, helps us get more attack speed. You also do not need a 30 quality, you can get a 28 quality and get almost the exact same effects for I think maybe 2.5 divines. If I were to rebuild this, I probably wouldn't use Ashes, I would try to find more attack speed somewhere else, and then use something like a replica Dragon Fangs to get more damage out of our Frostblink. But in the end, we get 200% more damage with hits against the enemy because we have 40% chill. That comes from Elementalist, allowing us to raise the cap from 30 to 40. We apply this 40% chill with our Ice Spear, which is happening automatically. So we click our Frenzy, it attacks the boss, it Ice Spears the boss, we blink through the boss, it adds a massive chill with Ice Spear, removes it with Frostblink, and then as soon as Frenzy attacks again, it hits it with Ice Spear again. So on single target, as I dash back and forth through them, you can see the 40% chill blinking on and off. That's basically from Frostblink, removing the applied chills by Ice Spear. But Ice Spear doesn't just apply our chills, it also gives us a massive amount of clear. With return projectiles, even though our Ice Spear is effectively on a 2-link, we get so many projectiles flying around the screen that we pretty much only need to hit rares with our Frostblink. It's an incredibly fun, snappy playstyle that is really hard to put down. Ultimately, it wasn't my viewers' favorite thing, as it's somewhat like Flicker Strike to watch, but it isn't like Flicker Strike to play because you're in full control. I know there are some cast on crit Frostblink builds out there that are triggering Frostblink on crit, and that does not allow you to choose where you go. Wherever you crit, that's where you Frostblink to. But with this, it just triggers Frostblink. So wherever you're aiming is where you Frostblink to, just like if you weren't triggering it. The only difference is it's instant. So you can go as fast or as slow as you want. You can manually click one at a time to change your speed, and it feels very kinetic. Now, at high speeds, sometimes you lose control. Sometimes you get stuck on a tree or a table. Sorry, Lance. But otherwise, it does not feel like Flicker Strike to play. It's actually quite smooth, but it does feel like Flicker Strike to watch. So I'm actually going on vacation tomorrow, so I'm going to be gone for a little bit. So I figured I would get this video out now. Even though the build isn't super polished, I wanted to get it out there so people could take a look at the POB and get a chance to do this build if they want to, or iterate on it and make it into something new. I have a feeling that someone's going to make a better version of this. Now that I've built the core, they can take that and really improve on it. So I hope to see some iterated versions of this. So I don't want to spend too much time yapping here, so let's get into it. Dirt Biter the Stinking. I'm gonna start calling people that in chat when they annoy me. Dirt Biter the Stinking. Yo, we just dropped 1 or more fracturing shards in 3 of the last 4 maps. It ain't easy being cheesy, you know? He's unstoppable. It's actually 128. It's impossible to not like play that joke out. Every time somebody says it, you have to. What's happening, dude? What's happening? What is going on, dude? Actually, what's going on? All right, guys. Hey, hey everybody. Welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna show you how to make 1 divine per map. So it's 30 seconds per map. So it's 120 divines per hour. So stay tuned. Okay, so here we have our level 96 Frostblink the Snowman. I leveled this all naturally. There was no 5 ways or anything involved here. So this build actually levels really, really well. Although it's not the tankiest build I've ever played, I don't remember the last time I got hit by something outside of blinking back and forth through a boss. While you're mapping, everything's either dead or you're past it. It's the definition of just don't get hit, except you don't have to do anything. You just hold down right click. And speaking of holding down right click, if you look at my skill bar, you'll see I have my Frenzy on my right click here. So let me just give you a quick showcase. I have Frenzy on my right click here, and I click it and I just blink and it casts my Frenzy out. If these hit something, it will crit. I also have it here because my move skill is usually in the G spot. Sorry about that. The G key slot. So I also put it there in case my brain needs to like make me move and I want to press this. And then I self-cast Frostbite. I don't love that I'm self-casting Frostbite. I wish it was automated. I would rather have it on one of my rings. So then this is truly a hold down right click 1 button build. So I'm not going to talk about every single gear piece here because a lot of this is very straightforward stuff. The rings are just resist and life and minus mana. Ashes of the Stars does a ton for us. Frostblink of Wintry Blast gets more damage with hits per chill effect on the enemy. Again, if I were to redo this, I probably wouldn't even go Elementalist. I would have not really build around that more damage with hits, and I would probably get attack speed somewhere else, and you can do and not rely so much on the quality to get damage. But the damage is quite nice even on a 4-link. Our Ashes also gives us quality for our Ice Spear, which gives us more targets to split towards. So when our Ice Spear of splitting casts, it goes towards one target and then splits towards, I believe, yes, 14 additional targets, and then it all returns to the target it split from. So on single target, you're getting a lot of those projectiles hitting a second time. Frenzy also gets more attack speed per frenzy charge. So the way that the frenzy quality works now is you get a ridiculous amount of attack speed. So we have 6 frenzy charges, which means we have 60% more attack speed. This can be pretty challenging to line up your trigger rates with. So I really would advise against this build unless you are an advanced player. I am not a cast on crit expert, and I did find this a bit challenging to work out. There's not a perfect set of gear that I can give you that will allow you to perfectly line up your trigger rates. There's 2 different trigger rates, one for Ice Spear in our cast on crit, and then one for the as an S mark in the helmet. Basically, the goal is to get the Frenzy and Frostblink lined up, and then Frenzy is going to be hitting often and casting Ice Spear pretty close to the cap of our trigger rate. For the quiver, basically all you're looking for is life, crit chance, attack speed, and then anything else you can get that's useful. There's not a lot that you can get on the quiver. The Stampede boots are great for getting cooldown recovery rate of travel skills. That works because Frostblink is a travel skill, and when it is put into this helmet and it is triggered by the helmet, it gets a cooldown. The cooldown that it gets can be lowered by CDR of travel skills. So we get 80% built into the boots, perfect roll, and then 30% from Fleetfoot. I also have CDR on the belt. I think I only needed 18 here for the Ice Spear setup to reach the 10 breakpoint, 10 attacks per second, but we rolled it perfectly, so it's a little bit better than it needs to be. Gloves are just spell suppress, resist, and life. We have a lot of auras in the setup. One that's really cool is Arctic Armor. We're always stationary, so this is always active. We use Clarity and Vitality alongside of Herald of Ice on our Arrogance setup because we use a Watcher's Eye that benefits both of those. Now, you can get Life on hit and Vitality, and non-channeling skills have minus cost for significantly cheaper than what I paid for this one. But I saw this for 12 Divines with the Spell Suppress on it, and I couldn't help myself. But I originally did not plan on getting the Spell Suppress while affected by Grace mod. As far as flasks go, we have 2 around our Tincture, which we'll talk about in a sec. In order to make this function, you have to reduce your mana cost by a lot. We have 7 and 7 on our rings. We have 8 from our Watcher's Eye. And then we have a very high effect Diamond Flask here with reduced mana cost on it. It's got 30% effect from our Tincture, which you get from the Ascendancy. It's got 25% effect here on the Flask. So we are reducing our mana cost very, very low. Our Frenzy costs us 9 mana without the Flask on, and then 2 mana with it off. And our Frostblink is at 16 mana. Our Ice Spear is at 25. And that still requires us to have a massive ES pool with Eldritch Battery in order to get this all to function. This is not an easy build to put together. I really urge you, if you're not a veteran player, I would not play this build. We also have an Onslaught Flask here with Evasion, and this is getting a bunch of effect as well from the Tincture. Getting your attack speed, again, synced up to your trigger rate is challenging and requires some tinkering. And then over here we have Consecrated Ground and an Evasion Flask with some crit and attack speed. You're gonna have to play with these flasks in order to get that trigger rate right. This bow is actually fairly easy to make. I bought this base for 1 Divine with those 3 implicits on it, which are pretty cool. And then you spam the Essence of Woe until you hit like tier 1 crit or tier 1 attack speed. You then annul down to just those 2 mods. Block the rest of your suffixes using can have up to 3 crafted modifiers and cannot roll attack mods. You exalt, and the only thing that you can exalt as a prefix is +1 gems. So then you remove that, you remove the crafted modifiers and add your multi-mod setup here, which is +2 socketed support and attack speed. You'd probably be better off getting attack speed instead of crit chance as a tier 1 mod and then craft on crit chance, but it is what it is. Also, I have an attack speed per quality on here because the physical damage of the bow does not matter. We can get a ton of crit from the chest. We get, I elevated attack crit. Should have elevated the spell crit too. I don't know why I didn't. And then you basically merge those together with an Awakener's Orb and lock suffixes and reforge caster to get that additional curse. This is a pretty bad chest, but it does the job. On the tree, we are using this Lethal Pride in order to get a significant amount of benefits. We have a lot of strength from it. We have life, life, life. This gives us endurance charge on kill. And then we have some double damage nodes that I was planning on taking if I got some more levels. We use a cluster Doriani's in order to get leech, and blast freeze in order to proliff our freezes. Sublime form helps us get our reservation low enough that we can fit everything under the cap here. We are Eldritch Battery, of course, and leeching it. I only ever got 2 of the Wildwood nodes. I've done so much Wildwood and I have not found the 3rd boss yet. The 4th node doesn't matter because we don't actually even use empty flask slots, and we wouldn't be able to make use of anything else in here. So it would just be extra quant of wisps, and we just didn't really focus on lake mechanic with this build. Some important masteries that we get, +3 to level of critical support gems. That's important for the Awaken cast on crit. We get this up to level 11. Another crit, that's pretty important. 50% increased effective non-damaging ailments you inflict with critical strikes. This helps us get to 40%. You don't need this unless you're going Elementalist, but this helped us get from 35 to 40%. Of course, we are Pain Attunement because we are low life, and then we grab a bunch of spell suppress to get us as close to 100% as possible. However, that which was taken here, this is pretty cool. I'm going to put a link to my search in. I basically just searched for a total of 3 mods on it that are useful. This gives me Global Blind. Consecrated Ground applies increased damage taken. That's very nice. And then 10% chance to deal 50% more area damage. The way that this works is it adds about 5% more damage on average, which doesn't seem that exciting. But every 10th hit, which we are triggering Frostblink 7 times per second, every 10th hit is going to do 50% more damage, which is very likely to freeze that enemy. Really, really big hits equal big freezes. So a stat like this is very powerful. So check out the description for the link to this search. Then lastly, we'll talk about why we are Elementalist. Bastion of Elements is nice. Ultimately, I picked Elementalist for Shaper of Winter. I don't know how worth it is. It's decent extra damage, but it would probably be much easier to get attack speed on a different ascendancy. We have no access to attack speed here, but good amount of damage from Mastermind of Discord, as well as Heart of Destruction. The AoE is pretty nice. And then of course, Shaper of Winter is kind of the core of the build. But I'm gonna try to keep this quick. If you have questions on this, you can come over to my Twitch. I will be live after this video, but then I will be going on a bit of a hiatus, taking a little vacation for New Year's. So when I get back, I'll be refreshed and there will be lots of new builds coming your way. If you want to support me, you can like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Even hit that little notification bell so you get alerts every single time I post a video. Also, you can join my Discord. Every time I post a video or go live, I make a little notification. So check out the Discord, link in the description below. All my other links are down there. So stop by the Twitch and come say hello. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for watching. And as always, take care.